Welcome, fellow seekers of challenge and triumph, to the SufferSooner podcast. Join us on a journey where ordinary souls embark on extraordinary endeavors. From the relentless grind of gravel to the punishing gauntlet that is triathlon, we've tasted our fair share of suffering. So fellow endurance warriors, let's lace up our shoes, strap on our goggles, and dive headfirst into the challenge, knowing that with every step, stroke, and pedal forward, we grow stronger together. All right, guys, welcome to the SufferSooner podcast. Going over the Solstice gravel recap.
Yeah, little 2-for-1 today. This is Solstice recap, and then I think right after this we got Bobby.
Yeah, so we're going to have Bobby after this. He's going to give us the point standings and then a little bit of heads up on Rock Ridge, which this part of the gravel series, we have back-to-back weekends.
Isn't that crazy?
So, I know.
You know, so Solstice, we're going to get into the recap here, but when I saw this on the calendar, I don't know, a few months back, I was like, oh, that'll be good, you know, Solstice and then Rock Ridge right after that. And I'm like, now that it's here, I'm like, I don't know. It's kind of, I think I could use a week off.
I was the same way. I was like, oh my gosh, this is really hard.
Yeah. It's always funny how easy this stuff looks a few months before it actually happens.
Sitting on the couch, you know, making the plan for the year. You're like, I'll be able to crush these weekends. And then, the weather has different ideas. They're like, oh, hey, guess what? It's going to be the hottest it's ever been for the next 2 weeks.
I mean, it's so hot that poor Joe, you know, we had him on last week for the preview, and he didn't even talk about, like, you know, the possibility of shortening the distance or moving the start time around, because the forecast at that time, it was still pretty hot, but I think it was still in the mid 90s, like low to mid 90s, and it's like, okay, it's still manageable. And then all of a sudden, like, Mother Nature decided to just turn the heat up to 11, and it was 90, 97, 98 the day before. And it was like just driving up there, even like I thought the tires were going to melt. It's freaking a cooker.
Yeah, it was. It was insanely hot and then windy too. So like, so we'll get into that. Joe made the call to reduce the distance of the long course of the Hundy. So instead of doing 100 miles, we did 70.
70.
70. And, I don't envy these race directors. I'm sure there was a lot of people going like, why are you shortening it? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And then when you got out there and you had to deal with that wind and the heat, I was really thankful that I was not going to be out there for another 2 hours or so.
At least 2 hours.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the heat first, because I think this is something that crosses every race director's mind when these conditions do this, like whether it's, you know, torrential downpour rain, where we saw Eric in open range, had to make a call earlier in the year. Obviously Joe this time with the heat. We've seen it with other races too, where directors sometimes just decide not to make a call. They just leave it as it is, and then people gripe about that, right? Like we saw Unbound a few years ago with the mud, and it's just like,
I think as a race director, you're never going to win. Right? It's like a job that's just like, well, whatever you do, somebody's going to have a problem with it.
I don't think anybody had a problem with this call.
No,
I don't. In fact, I don't know that I saw anybody cross the finish line going, you know what, I wish I had 2 more hours of that.
Yeah.
Or 30 more miles of it.
No, and I talked to Joe after the race when I crossed. He was like, so what'd you think? Were you okay with the 70 miles? I was like, dude, I was super happy.
As if you need your approval.
Right. Well, no, I mean, I think he was just,
No, I know.
I think it's somebody he's like, well, he's like, this guys will probably tell me straight. Like, whether
right. Well, and I think too, like, I'm sure he asked that question of a lot of people, but look, if I'm in Joe's shoes, I'm like, look, I made the call. It is what it is. But then there's that part like, did I make the right call? Like, that's how I would be, because I'd be like, man, did I really make the right call? Joe, you made the right call.
Yeah. Well, I think it was just him too, just getting feedback from the racers. Because if he made that call and then like 90% of us like, dude, we should have had the 100.
Yeah.
Like then he would have been like, okay.
Can't go back and change it.
Right. Can't go back and change it. But I think when he, asked everybody and everybody's like, yeah, thank you for changing it. Yeah. Just like, when Eric changed the rain course, we were just like, yeah, thank you for changing it. Because, everybody in the beginning, because they haven't seen the conditions and, they're just kind of going off of their own knowledge of the area. They're like, well, it could have been okay. Yeah. And then they get out there and then
Yeah.
then the real stuff happens, and you're just like, oh my gosh, yeah, thank you. So yeah,
Well,
I want to say like huge shout out to Joe for making that call early on, and just
it's decisive.
yeah, decisive,
Plenty
and
of
just
time.
yep, and just giving us plenty of time to get the new route loaded, and yeah, I mean, there's other things to think about too. He was worried about his volunteers being out there all day, and then just you can't think about just the front people,
Right.
You have to think about who's going to be out there.
Who's the last one to cross the line?
That last
Yeah.
person, like how long are they going to be out there? And if they got to be out there for hours and hours and hours, then that just brings more risk to
Yeah.
the whole event, which
Yeah.
you don't want to have.
No, I mean, you want it to be it needs to be a good experience for everybody. And so yeah, no question, it was the right call. And it's funny because we drove up the day before, the afternoon before, and it was, like I said, it was like 97, 98. And a couple of times, temperature gauge on the truck said 100, and I'm like, look, we've all raced or ridden in hot conditions before, and we get it. But I tell you, every time I looked down, I saw the temperature ticking up another degree.
Yeah.
And I could, it was a tailwind in the truck going up until we started heading west, and then it was a crosswind. I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a little rough. And then we got out of at the hotel parking lot, and like you didn't even have to pick your bike up. It was just
It was just flying up.
It's like,
I was like, hey, check this out.
right? I was like, oh man, this is gonna be fun. And so I think we knew then it was the right call to make, and thankful for it, because it turned out to be a grind of a day for a lot of folks, and ourselves included. We ran into a few folks. We went to the Walmart that was right there across the street, and ran into a couple of folks there, and it was funny because the tactics were already starting to form.
Man. I think that's the best part I will say about this Gravel Cup series, is that you have alliances forming, especially with our pack, and I'm sure it happens in all the other ones, but we've talked about this before, and we get into it with Bobby, is that like you have like 3 or 4 packs deep where people are making tactics, making moves, marking people, like trying to figure out what's going on. So I really think that it makes gravel, I was worried that it was going to make it too competitive and kind of like how crit racing and some of the road racing stuff is, but I think the fact that we don't have teams, and we're we're kind of all privateers. There are big enough numbers of some clubs there that they have like a team aspect to it,
right?
But I really think that gravel being kind of privateers and single people just trying to do their best makes it the racing fun. Yeah,
for sure. So just kind of back on the heat and the course adjustments, because of the shortening of the route. And I think it was going to happen on the full 100 mile as well, but there was a straight south section that was about anywhere from about 7-8 miles.
Yep.
And at least 5 of that was a rolling uphill. And I think everybody that was riding that course that knew about it, like that had looked ahead, everybody was dreading that section.
Yeah.
And that is like, nobody wanted to be fully exposed there.
Except for me.
Except for you.
Yeah.
And so I think we all kind of knew that's where the race was going to happen.
Yeah.
And it turned out, I think that lived up to it. But I will say, when I was planning, talking with you on the way up there, I was planning on that stretch being the hardest part of the race.
Yeah, and it was hard.
I don't know if it was the hardest part. It was hard, but I don't know if it was the hardest part, because what I think I found out after the race is handling the crosswinds on some of those roads where it got a little sandy. That turned out to be more difficult for me than the straight headwind.
Yeah.
And I think
that was for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that I'm the world's best bike handler, but I have the weight to keep the bike.
It helps.
On the ground in the crosswinds. I was riding next to Alex for a while. friend of the podcast, and you know, he was just out there. You know, we call it dying the slow death.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was, you know, the crosswinds were eating him up on that section. And at one time, we got through a road crossing, and then it got real sandy, and I almost went into I got blown into the ditch because I got stuck in the rut. And it just keeps kind of pushing you sideways, and so eventually I had to put a foot down, and then I look back, and you know, just to check on see what's going on behind me, and I see a bike laying there, and I'm like, oh no, Alex fell over. And so I start turning around, and then I see him. He was taking a nature break, and I was like, oh, he's fine. And then I got back on my bike and took off. But
so let's I want to get into some of that too, because there was a lot of carnage in the windy section there, in that crosswind. So.
Well, let's So this edition is definitely going to go down as a hot and windy section, session of Solstice. So again, you know, it is, you know, June in Nebraska and the Flint Hills and everywhere. So it is you. Again, it's the Midwest, so it could be anything, but chances are it's going to be hot. So it was pretty hot. It was definitely in 97 or so, and 30 mile an hour gusts, or 30 mile an hour constant wind with 40 mile an hour gusts. Yeah. So it was windy, and when I say windy, it was like, I'm not exaggerating. It was windy.
Yeah. You know, it's on the scale of 0 to open range. It was definitely in the open range end of the windy scale.
Yeah. So it was just that constant wind. But yeah.
So lining up, let's go to the start of the race. Let's kind of recap it here. So at the beginning, we talked about before the race, even the day before, there were some alliances forming.
Yeah, and there was a lot of positioning. There was a lot of like, hey, do you guys want to work together? Hey, do you want to do this? What's your guys' plan? How do you, you know? So, which is, I love it.
Yeah, it's great.
Because me and you aren't racing for a podium. We're just racing against each other.
Yeah, and having a little fun with it.
Yeah, we're lucky enough to be fast enough that we can be in some of these other, factor in some of these other races that are going on.
And everybody wanted I don't know why, everybody wanted your wheel for that straight south section we were just talking about. And I'm like, okay, so the idea was, you know, we would latch into one of these groups and get a nice little cross tailwind push out to that mile marker. I was right, 30 something, 35 maybe, I can't remember. So at the start, we lined up where we normally do. Had some groups in mind, and right from the get-go, it was fast. I mean, some really good gravel out there. So.
Yeah, so there's fast gravel. I think the whole intention was to get to the south or the most northerly point right before you had to start heading south as fast as possible.
Right,
and it was on fire.
Yeah, it was. Doug, friend of the podcast, was telling us. Colorado Doug. He pre-rode some of the course and was like, I think there's gonna be people get there in an hour. I'm like, an hour to like mile 28, an hour? And it's like, it wasn't much more than an hour. I'm sure the leaders were out there that fast.
We got there. I think we rolled through that place at an hour 24 or something like that.
Yeah, it was fast. And so we get into some groups. We make a little push out there, and I saw the Masters leaders, which was one of the groups we were trying to, we were going to stick with and kind of help out with some of the Masters. And man, they were pushing pretty hard right out of the gate.
Yeah, they were going real hard. And so my job was basically just to stay up front and stay, as close to maybe that second group as I could.
Yeah.
So I made a couple of pushes early on to try to get there, and they were blasting. I could not. I am not gonna go this hard.
I followed your wheel for a lot of it.
Yeah, and know that we're gonna have to, push that south section. I was keenly aware of the amount of effort that it was going to take me to come back on that south section. So I was like. It was too hard.
There was one point that I think I took a pole on, or at least was ahead of you on a couple of sections there, and I saw a couple of the Masters guys just kind of pushing up the road, and I think I looked back and I said, Yeah, that's too hot for me. I mean, good luck to those guys if they can hold it, but there's no way I could hold that on that day and have enough energy for that south wind section. So I started just kind of letting them go, thinking they would come back, and they never came back.
Yeah, we would
So,
catch them.
we'd catch them later on.
On some
Yeah.
of the sections, we would catch. We would catch up to them, so that we weren't going too much slower, but we weren't.
Managing the effort.
Yeah, I wasn't. Yeah, I was managing more so than I wanted to stay with that group. So
Yeah.
I figured, if anything, I would see them later, and that
Yeah.
was my
Yeah.
kind of going for that whole section.
Right. And so we watched them kind of go. Like you said, they stayed in eyesight for a good chunk of time, and then we had Tyler was riding with us for a little while, and
Yep.
then sure enough, here comes Eric from Open Range. He comes up next to us. He's riding single speed.
Yeah, he's riding single speed. They're spinning out on the
Yeah.
single speed, just
Yeah.
trying to stay in.
And then there were a couple other folks that kind of grouped up with us, and they would sort of yo-yo with us, and but for I don't know 5, 6, 7 miles, it was just like the four of us, and it was a good time. But before we get too far into it, just so
Yeah.
you know, this race is under protest. So
Yeah, so
this race is purely under protest. And I noticed the shirt you're wearing today.
Yeah, I got to pay props to my man Eric.
Yeah.
He came through with we talk about alliances and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and sometimes you kind of make some other alliances.
Yeah.
And so
Well-
Eric, I owe you money now.
So there's this friendly competition between you and I in the point standings, and there's like 5 or 6, 7 points that are separating us
Yep.
after this race.
Yeah,
And I can't help but notice that it was very convenient that Eric, who's riding a single speed, pretty good bike handler, by the way. He rides a lot, in
Yeah.
case you didn't know.
yeah,
He rides a lot. And just so happens that we're going into this one turn, about mile 18, I want to say. And lo and behold, his wheel slides out from under him.
yeah.
Conveniently right in front of me, and he goes down, and he's keen enough to like protect himself to make sure he doesn't get hurt, and his
Yeah.
race is good,
Yeah.
and lets me just rail right into him and go right over the handlebars into the ditch.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's pretty cool. So he did the courtesy, get up, make sure you're okay. You good? I'm
You
like,
good?
yeah,
You
yeah,
good?"
yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about that. So when Eric and those guys caught up to me, to us,
Yeah.
I rode behind Eric for a little while, and then I saw that his tires
Yeah.
were their slicks.
Yeah, the slicks on.
Yeah, the slicks on, and I was like, that's a bold move.
Well, and we didn't really know the roads that well, but we heard there was some sandy sections.
Yeah, and so going out, there was some deep sandy sections. So I was like, well, this is probably indicative of what is going to be on the road. And so like I made the choice of like, I'm probably not going to follow Eric just because one, he's a single speeder, and it's just I don't know. I feel like it's bad form to make them pull.
Yeah.
Because
true.
they're already
It is bad form.
Yeah,
I
they're
agree.
already doing that. So
agree.
I'm like, no matter how much he wants to or whatever,
Sure.
I'm just like,
Yeah.
yeah, dude,
Yeah.
don't. You're just gonna ride. You can sit on. I'm not gonna make you pull me around.
Sure.
And I just noticed that, and I just kind of made a like mental note of like, yeah, I probably won't
Right.
follow his wheel too close because he's riding the slicks. And,
Sure.
And I mean, good on. I mean, that's fine. He only had one incident.
They're fast tires.
Yeah, they're fast.
Yeah.
And this is fast gravel, which is, I had the idea of thinking I should have brought my Pathfinders, and I probably would have went a little bit faster too. But
Sure.
again, I think I was really happy with my tire choice in the cross section
Yeah.
times.
Yeah. So it's funny because I had just caught up. I kind of bounced off the back right before that turn to have a feed real quick, and I was just catching up to him. And so I was right behind Eric. And all kidding aside, I mean, we were just joking about the
Yeah.
Alliance stuff.
Yeah.
He felt horrible.
Yeah,
about
he
it.
felt so bad.
And the thing was it was one of those things, like I had just caught up. He and Tyler were side by side kind of talking to each other, and I had just caught back up to them after the feed. And yeah, his wheel slid out, and I felt bad too because I could see it in slow motion happening, right?
Yeah.
As soon as his wheel went out, he did. He kind of tucked into a ball, which is good on him to protect himself. And my wheel went right into his leg. I felt. I mean, what am I going to do? I know where to go.
Yeah, like it's not like you can stop
Right?
on loose gravel any
Exactly.
quicker. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I did. I went right over the handlebars, and that was fun. We both got up, dusted off. Thank goodness everybody was fine. Bikes were fine. But he stuck around to make sure I was good. I was like, Eric, go. You're in the race, man. I'm not in the race.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You go. Like, get on. And he didn't. He waited up to make sure I was good. We rode side by side for a little bit, and then he took off. And then he ended up winning the single speed. So,
Yeah.
I mean, he did a phenomenal job. Eric, and yeah, all kidding aside, it was an outstanding race for him. And and no ill feelings about the whole thing at all. But I do have to give you a hard time.
Yeah,
because I know how bad you felt about it. So, but it was fun. I mean, and I noticed before this, so the crash had nothing to do with it, but I noticed around like mile 15 or so, my back started kind of tightening up. And even going into that aid station, finally it felt like it was loosening up, but man, my back was like not happy. And so I was not struggling, but I was not feeling very comfortable either. And we get in the aid station, and it's just no water stop, right? We planned no water at the first aid station. We were like, you know what, we got full packs, full bottles. Grab the pipe cleaner as indication you were there, and go. And that's what we did. And we both hauled out of there pretty quick, and we start the long trek into the south headwind.
Yep.
So tell me about how that was for you, because all I saw was your rear wheel and riding off into the distance.
So this is kind of my jam, just like a headwind, block headwind, softly rolling hills. And so I try to latch onto a group early on, but they just they were surging the hills, and I was like, I'm not doing that whole thing.
Yeah.
So I kind of let them go, and eventually they just kind of rode off. But I was passing a lot of people, and so my plan was just to ride like I normally do and just hold steady power. And I was picking up the stragglers from these groups that got shelled
harvester.
out.
Yeah.
And at the end of that section, I came across Hannah. She was stretching her back out, and she, I was like, "Oh no, what happened?" And she's like, "I think the 350 just kind of took more than just."
I don't know. It's like, you think about like when we do marathons and how long it takes to recover after a marathon. I have to think the 350 is a lot like that, where it's like it's such a long event. Like it's not the same kind of fatigue as, hey, I went out and did a hard workout and I got to take a day or two of recovery. It's like there's this sort of lingering fatigue and sort of muscular toll it takes on your body.
Yeah. And
I can't imagine.
I think she just was trying to recover from that. So I rode with her for a while, but eventually she just fell off, succumbed to the crosswinds. Anytime that like you have lower back issues and you have to have the bike kind of sideways in the crosswind, and then your hips have to be kind of loose in the sand. Yeah, it just really aggravates that. Yeah, speaking from somebody somebody who has lower back problems.
Sure.
That kind of stuff just really aggravates it.
Yeah.
So caught up to her, past her. Then there was another, then we were kind of making our way south, and, we got to the most westerly point and then started making our way back east. But so I was just working. I was all by myself, just riding and just picking up stragglers. Yeah. And I caught up to Alex on this section, and I was hoping I was trying to shelter him, but he was already deep in the pain cave. Yeah. And I tried to catch up to try to help out a lot of people, because the crosswinds, again, they're strong, but for me, since I'm such a big guy, they're not too much of an issue for me.
Right.
So I just kept motoring, and and I just kept going. I thought you were going to be on my wheel, and I think I turned around after like the third or fourth little roller, and I was just by myself
on that south section.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, I guess I'm just riding all by myself.
It's going to be a lonely ride. So we got out of that little town, and I was on your wheel for the first hill, and you were pushing a decent. Like, it wasn't a hard power at all.
No.
You were pushing what I would say is like our normal normal pace for that type of situation. And somewhere in there, like I said, my back did start to feel better. So that's not an excuse. It was just, it was a problem early, but it did start to feel better. And I noticed, like, as you were kind of rolling up that first hill, I was with you, and then getting ready to start the second one, I was just like, nope.
Yeah.
Today isn't the day. Like, there was just not a lot of motivation there. And it's weird because, there is that friendly competition on the point side. And there was a part of me, I'm like, I'd really like to make a move and just do it. But that day, it just wasn't there. It just was not, like, the legs were okay, not great, but okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm not going to match the pace here. But, I thought between the crosswind section coming up and then if there was any kind of punchiness, I might be able to make a move late. But I saw you going up the road, and our Garmin's, we could kind of see where each other are at on the course. And even like towards the end of that straight south section, I think you were about a half mile, maybe 3/4 of a mile ahead of me. And depending on the pace, I mean, that's probably, about a 3-minute gap, 4-minute gap, depending on the situation. So I knew you weren't that far up on me, but it was just something I was like, well, I'm just going to keep doing my thing here,
Yeah.
And we get into the crosswind. So I actually, on the hills, I was the same kind of thing about probably about halfway into that. I did find a rhythm, and it wasn't quite as hard, as much power as I wanted, but it was a good rhythm. I was picking people up, same as you. Like, I was picking people up, and then I looked, and I was like, I think that jersey was kind of familiar, and it was kind of eerie because it was a lot like open range, where Tyler was ahead of me by like a 1/4 mile in open range, and I kept trying. Every time I tried to close the gap, it seems like he would just pull away. But this time he was getting closer, and then I'd get up next to him, and you could just tell he was hurt, and he was not having a good day. I felt horrible for him, but not horrible enough to stick around. And like, he was good.
Yeah.
But it just felt kind of bad, because we've all been there. And I get to the section where you make the right hand turn, and now you're dealing with a long stretch of crosswind. Same thing, man. The sand. I mean, it's like the wind just kept pushing it, kept grabbing the wheel and taking you over to the ditch. And I started finding out, if I just ride in the dirt and the grass on the left side of the road, and just let that crosswind, that crosswind, you're kind of sheltered from some of the tall corn, and then it just seemed to work, and I was able to hold a more consistent pace. And similar situation, I started catching people. Poor Hannah. I mean, I don't need to repeat what you just said, because she was in the same pain cave there, and everything you could tell was hurting for her. And I caught Alex too, and he's like, I said, hey Alex, you need anything? You need water? You need goo? Anything at all? And he's like, can you just stop the wind? I was like, I can't stop the wind. I said, you can grab a wheel. It's not going to be fast wheel, but you can grab a wheel. And I looked back, and he was gone. And
so, nothing humbles anybody more than the headwind like that.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of people out of it.
It was brutal.
So,
but yeah, I mean, it was a lot of physical fatigue, just full body fatigue, because of having to handle the bike and keep everything upright. So, but I kept checking, and you at one point, I think you were about a mile up the road on me, a little over a mile maybe. But I knew I wasn't going to catch you, because I knew once you got far enough away in that crosswind, I wasn't gaining on you. It's like, you were gone. So I think you ended up beting me by a couple minutes. It was you stopped. You stopped and took pictures.
Yeah,
I
stopped at the Chase Lounge and took some pictures. And so the rest of the race was pretty straightforward. I was just by myself, just picking people off.
Yeah.
I wanted to hopefully get to maybe work with a group, but there was no groups out there. It was just, I was in no man's land. So.
Well, I think everybody was. I mean, you know how it is. You get this type of the terrain. So let's talk about the terrain for a minute. It was all rolling. There was never really a punchy section that felt like it was steep. Like, there might have been a couple of spots where it was 5, 6, 8% grades, but it wasn't very long at all. And so that, I mean, if I were going to design a course for Travis that could take full advantage of his strengths, this would have been the course.
Yeah.
Like, especially with the conditions of the day. Like, it was perfectly designed for like your style of riding and what you do. And so I think that when I realized that about halfway through, I was like, I'm not catching him today. So today ain't the day.
Today is not the day.
So that's okay. But yeah, I think, just those types of conditions, it doesn't really allow for groups to sort of reform once it gets strung out. Like once that headwind starts stringing people out, and then that crosswind strings you out even more. Like where do you reform a group? It's just so hard to, unless you just either sit up or because like it's hard to make a push and catch somebody.
Right, and especially with those crosswinds too. Like the second you let a group or a wheel go, that wind is actually working to push you away from them. Yeah, away from them. So it just makes it even harder to try to hold wheels.
Yeah, so. But it's. I mean, the gravel was fast. There were a couple, like I said, loose sandy sections that caught us by surprise. The one thing I'll say is there was the downhill. So it was the last climb where it was kind of a red dirt road kind of thing, and it was a lot of fun bombing that thing. It was like warning technical descent ahead. I'm like, the hell with that. We're gonna freaking go. Full send.
Even the photographers up there, they were like, "Hey, it's rutted out." I'm like, "Where's it rutted out?" Yeah. And they're like, "At the bottom." I'm like, "You got it, buddy." And I just went, just like took off.
Oh man, that was a blast. But what was not a blast was taking a left-hand turn and having 3 miles more of crosswind and sand. I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, just want to be done.
That final crosswind section, it was just like I was definitely just hurting, and I was counting down the tenths of miles.
Yeah, which isn't like you. Normally, you're just like, I'm just going to keep going until they tell me it's done. But it was a physically demanding and a mentally challenging day for sure. So it was good. It was a good race. Again, Joe, I think made the right call, and it's. I'm so glad that when I got done, I was like, man, thank goodness I'm not out there anymore. We stuck around and talked to a lot of people. It was great conversations with some folks. We learned about a few other races in the area. There's another one up in Nebraska that's that we heard about.
Yeah, that we heard about. Yeah,
we're gonna a challenge we're thinking about, but. It's a great time, and really glad we made the trip. It's this is a unique course in the sense that it's, you think about the other races in the Cup Series, and this one is the terrain again is like if there was a total opposite of Muleskinner, this is it, right? Because it's much more gentle, but yeah, between the winds and the heat and everything, it's a very demanding race for sure.
No, so. I really liked it, and. I really enjoy like everybody coming up and talking to us. Yeah. I really get a kick out of that. And I mean, I can't thank everyone enough. And I'm so humbled about all of it. So
for sure.
I'm happy that people are getting, some, a kick out of this podcast, and they like to follow along and, hear all the stories and stuff like that. So I just got to say thank you guys again, because it's awesome talking to you guys.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just great. I can't express enough how much I'm so humbled by these guys.
So I can't. I couldn't say any more than that. It's exactly right. Like I said, we stuck around for a couple hours after the race, and just hearing some of the stories, not just from the race, that specific race, but I think what I'm starting to really appreciate is, and I think the Cup is helping this because. As you mentioned, like we see the same faces more and more and more, and it's been a blast getting to know some folks. I'd like to get to know everybody, because there's like everybody that shows up to these things is awesome.
Yeah,
there's so many good people, and just hearing the stories about other races and other rides that people have done got me thinking. Like I think it's given me a little inspiration for some projects that we want to work on. Maybe one of the things, if we could ask any of the listeners out there that have unique stories or have experiences from years gone by, or somebody that's maybe been doing this for 15 years and has some good stories to tell, we'd love to get in touch with them, because I think we got some ideas on things we want to do with some future episodes. So this has been a lot of fun, and chatting with folks and hearing the adventures never gets old. So.
Yeah, it never gets old. Love it.
Yep.
So,
and we got Bobby, right? We're going to talk Great Plains Gravel Cup point standings, all that good stuff.
Do we not have any rapid fire this week?
Oh, you don't want to do rapid fire? We could do rapid fire. Let's do some rapid fire.
To let you guys all know, Danny's nutrition was on point though this time.
That's true.
It's just mentally he was just not with it, and that's the part of racing too. To get into that, I think a lot of racing, this part of racing doesn't get discussed enough, but. If you're not willing to put yourself in that hurt locker, then you're you're gonna not have your best performance.
It's a true story.
And
Yeah.
so like when I saw that we were going to ride into a headwind, I prepared myself for the amount of pain that I was willing to inflict on myself. And it paid off.
Yeah, for sure. I and that's exactly right. I mean, there's a part of me, I'm like I said, there's the competitive side of me. It's like I think on a normal, just take this day and just put it randomly on the calendar, I would have been all over it the same way.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, in the moment, didn't have the desire. And it's kind of strange because it's not like me for the competition. And I don't know if it's just checked out for the day. If it's, I think there's also some of this, and this is something I have to evaluate in the off season, is the concept of A, B, and C races.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it from the training perspective, but the problem is if I were, if I think about this race, this is like a C race, and it's not because of the quality of the event, it's just because where it's at on the calendar and the other things I had going on. I think next year I could easily make it a solid B race, right, and be more ready for it. But I think given that Unbound was my A race, I felt like I think I got to that sort of trap of, hey, I accomplished my goal for the season.
Yeah.
And so now I can just kind of ride instead of race.
Yeah.
And it's a big difference in mindset if you're going to race it. And to your point, if you're not fully committed to just pouring everything into it, then when the moment gets there, it's going to be really hard to get motivated.
Yeah, it's hard to get motivated when you're just like, I don't know about this.
That's right. So yeah, I think it's I think it's just one of those things that, like I said, that wasn't the day for it. But you know what? We got Rock Ridge coming up, and
I have some history with a lot of the roads out there, and so it'll be interesting.
I don't know. We're gonna see. I'm definitely ready for Rock Ridge.
Yeah, good.
So anyway, all right. So let's go to rapid fire. You ready for this?
Yep.
All right. Did you mistake being stubborn for being strong?
No.
Were you? I don't know. I mean, that's a tough one.
Yeah, I think, if the grade is good and the wind, I just find myself that's kind of what I'm good at. So you might as well like embrace what you're kind of good at and just, and so I just kind of was like, yeah, this is my jam. I'm just going to jam it. And I just kind of committed to just riding steady and going.
Right. Yeah. I mean, sometimes that's just all you can do. And it's, so maybe this next question doesn't really apply. So at what point did the race stop being about racing and start being about justifying a finish line photo? You took the chase photo. I was kind of surprised. When you said that, I was like, you did what?
I took two.
You took two. You did take two, and they're posted by the way. I don't know if you've seen them.
They're
yet,
on there.
They're
so
out there.
I didn't. I got those. From what I can remember of Dirty Kansas, it was the Chase Lounge stuff, and I was like, man, they just don't have that anymore. And so, when I rolled up on this, I was like, what the heck is a couch doing out there? Like, I was like, I almost thought I was hallucinating when I was climbing that hill, and then I was like, oh, cool.
It really is a couch.
Yeah, and so I get up there and I'm like, oh. And they're like, hey, you want your picture? I was like, yeah. I'm like, and so I sat on it and I held my bike and I was like, is this good? And they're like, yeah, we got it. And I'm like, oh, dude, this looks like a goober. Like, let me do something better. And so I rearranged and then laid on the couch and stuff. And so then you get the good one.
Yeah.
So, but I was like, I've never done this. This is something I've always wanted to do.
That's
so
funny.
Thank you, Joe, for having that out there. That was awesome. And so I had time to do that. I figured that's probably when you would have caught me or whatever, but I didn't really care then. I was I was all about the photo then.
Yeah. I saw it. Same thing. I saw it going up the hill. I'm just like, is that a couch? And then I saw the tripod and the camera. I was like, okay, there's a picture up there. And I thought for a split second about stopping to do it, and then I was like, if I sit on that couch, I'm not getting back up. It was the same thing at the last water stop. There was I think it was the Pirates Cycling League that was out there on 11 miles to go.
Yeah, they were like, do you need to stop? And I was like, man, if I stop, I'm hanging out here all day.
Yeah, that's right. It was a shady spot. It was the last bit of shade on the course until the end, and I was like, I don't think it's a good idea. And then looking back, I probably could have used another half bottle of water or something, because I mean that 3 mile stretch at the end really took it out of me, and I had
Yeah.
nothing left. I was like, I was
Yeah.
dried up. I was like, oh man. So yeah, good stuff there. Here's one. So, and you could probably take this one two ways. What did you see in other riders that reminded you of your own weakness?
Just the ability to surge hills, man.
Yeah.
I think just working on getting lighter, just to be able to kind of climb those hills a
Did
little
you see
faster.
the diet plan I sent you?
Yeah.
So the diet plan is like what people say you should eat, and it's like bacon, avocado, eggs, and
Yeah.
the diet plan that actually works, it's like a pack of cigarettes and some coffee.
Yeah, some coffee and a monster.
And a
And
Monster.
I'm like, sign me up, man. Let's go. But yeah, like I think some of that stuff, but then again, it trades off on my strength too.
Yeah.
Like I won't be able to handle the crosswinds or the headwinds as strong. So
You know, Tade's pretty light, and he still seems to find a way to win. So
that's true.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the answer there is. It's always this challenge of like when people surge those hills, and cause I face this too. Like my weakness is power to weight ratio. Like I think power is there for the most part.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have some problems with sustaining power over a long time, but generally speaking, I think the power's there, but the weight side of it is a bit of a problem. So, but then I'm like, when people surge these hills, are they really? Number one, I don't think it's conscious in a lot of things. I think just naturally people tend to push a little harder.
I
into
think
the
they're
hill.
just get the hill over with.
Yeah, and then if you notice, a lot of people sort of taper towards the top of it versus surging over the top of it, and I think part of me is like, number one, it's not really intentional. Number two is like, is that really what you want to do? Like, or is it more just about, hey, if I'm just lighter, it just gets done faster? Because it's not about surging more, putting more power into the hill. It's just more
Right.
about
It's
the
just
speed of.
it's just
yeah.
I guess maybe it's just having that bigger range that you can, maybe you hit the hill and you're in a lower part of your like tempo zone.
Right.
And then when they kind of surge, you can just stay with them still in tempo. Whereas I hit the hill and I'm in, middle of my tempo, and when they surge, I have to go into like threshold. And
Right.
I'm not really a big fan of just doing repeated threshold or VO2 max efforts.
Yeah.
Just because, it's a long day out there.
Right. So let's flip that question, because I thought it was funny, the weakness side of it, because we all have weaknesses, but let's flip that question a little bit. What did you see in other riders that reminded you of your own strengths?
I think what I saw, like a lot of people, they were riding the headwind really smart. They were just kind of tucked down, trying to get aero.
Yeah.
They were real stable on their handlebars, and they were just pushing through it and just basically metered the effort so that they could just keep handling it.
Right.
And then some of the people I caught up to on the crosswind section, a lot of people, some were riding in the sand and not looking for the best line.
Yeah.
And just because there was tire tracks, they were just like, well, I'll just follow whatever they did. And then you saw a couple people that were actively searching for better lines in that section. And so those people, I think, again, this goes to a lot of riding. Just because you see that somebody else rode through there doesn't mean that was the best optimal line to ride through. So I think that's a big thing is when you're suffering like that, maybe there is a better line.
Yeah.
And don't feel bad to like try to search it out, and
Right.
you might find it, or you might find that you were in the best line all
Right.
along.
Right.
But at least you looked.
It's funny you said it, because there were a couple of folks that passed me in some of those crosswind sections. Like, man, that's good on them. But and then I was like, wait a second, they're just following a little different line, and they were still faster than me. But I just same thing. Like I'm constantly looking for a better line, almost to a fault. But with this kind of course, with the way that the sand is, and this is probably good for a lot of courses, so not just in Nebraska, but to your point, like sometimes you see the tire tracks, like, oh, I'm just going to go where the tracks were. And so, a lot of times you can see where somebody kind of snaked their way through it. Like, oh, I'm going to avoid that. In this course, there were a lot of points where I was like, I was riding where the tire tracks weren't, because that told me that was more firm, and it was less likely that I'm going to slide all over the place. And that's why at some point I finally just went to the dirt, like to the grass, because I'm like, everything over there looks like garbage. And it's just like, it was like trouble, or I'm going to sink into it. So I think just being willing to take the gamble on a different line, and then, if you find something that works, stick with it, of course. But constant adjustments, and which gets back to the whole mental side of this thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, good stuff. All right, last one. Who passed you and never looked back?
Oh man. Yeah, there was one guy. He's got to be a triathlete because he wasn't wearing socks, and so like he passed me, and he was in his aero bars, and he just never looked
gone.
back. Yeah, he was gone.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
I mean, good on him.
You
I
know-
mean, that's what you do. Like, I mean, you just get aero, and that 40-mile-an-hour headwind is a little bit less challenging.
You know who passed us that I thought for sure we were going to see again? Courtney.
Yeah.
Courtney passed us, and she was in that group with Hannah early on. And I think one of them, I can't remember who made the comment, like, "Oh, you guys go out a little too hot." And I was like, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
But it was interesting because when they passed us, I thought, oh, we'll see them again at that headwind section, because I figured because that group, everybody in that group is much lighter than we are, and we tend to kind of plow through that stuff. And never saw Courtney again. She took off, and she had a great race, ended up winning and taking the overall lead in the points. But obviously she's a super strong rider, so it's not like I expected to see her, but I just thought with the winds and the crosswind, we might be able to catch back up, and never. Again. Just awesome riding. So good stuff. I mean, it was a really good time. Glad we made the trip up. Well worth it, and looking forward to it again. Again, that was our first time doing it, so glad to get out and do another course.
Yep. So stick around. We're going to talk to Bobby, and we're going to hear all about Rock Ridge. And but that was it for the Solstice recap. So.
Rock Ridge coming up, and the series is going to be coming up to a close here pretty soon. So it's going to be a lot of fun. You got Rock Ridge and Pony Express, and the series is over for the year.
Yeah. So a lot of people are separated by a handful of points. So it's getting tight.
You got it.
So, all right. Talk to you guys later.
All right, guys. Welcome to the Great Plains Gravel Cup, brought to you by SufferSooner, or powered by SufferSooner.
Yeah, it's only the fifth one of these, so you get it right one of these
I'll get it one of these days. I'm still working on it. We're new here.
This is why you do it and I don't do it. I get to poke fun at you all the time.
Yeah. So we're joined today with Bobby. His stop is the fifth race on this 6-race series. So Rock Ridge. It's looking like it's going to be a hot one, just like Solstice was. So give us the down low, Bobby. How's it look out there?
Well, we can start with weather, because I know that's what bothers everybody the most. It's going to be hot, but unlike Solstice, it'll have, I think the high for the wind is only like 10 mile per hour average, 10 to 15, which is pretty much perfect, because you don't want it to be still out there and hot and muggy, because then you're going to drip sweat the entire day. You're going to be sweaty anyway, but if it's a 10 to 15 mile wind, you get a crosswind or a headwind, it does help cool you down.
For sure.
So I went out and rode today, hot and muggy, same thing. 60 degree or 60% humidity, feels like 98 degrees. And I rode in the afternoon, and get in the shady areas and you feel pretty decent. So you stop, don't stop. If you stop, you can't see anything because water rushes down your face. So so don't stop. I told all my checkpoints, bring extra dry towels, because people are going to need to dry their faces when they stop. So
for sure. Well, it sounds like a typical Midwest, right? 60% humidity in the middle of summer, late June.
When I conceived this ride, we've had really good weather the first 3 years. This is year 4. When I conceived this ride, this is the type of weather that I thought we'd have the previous 3. So that's why the distances are the way they are. We have the longest distance is 75 miles. You have a checkpoint every 15 to 16, 17 miles. So, one bottle of water if you had to. And if you're stuck riding 8 miles per hour, it's still 2 bottles. I still say always carry 70 ounces on you. That way, if you get stuck walking, you got to sit in the shade, you have extra. 70 ounces is a 2-liter backpack and a liter bottle, or 3 bottles. So, and then, so we have the 75 is the main race. And then we have 3 checkpoints plus a unmanned water station on that 75. For the 37, we have 2 checkpoints and an unmanned water station if you need it. You shouldn't need it, but it's there. We have a 20 miler, which is just an out and back to the water station. That'll be done by, even if you only did that at 7 miles an hour, you're done by 11. So you're done before the heat hits you on the 20 miler.
Yeah.
And then we have the overnighter, which is the one that everyone's scared to do.
Yeah.
Which is, I agree. I don't know if I could finish it right now. It's 150 miles. It starts at 9 p.m. Friday night and ends, whenever on Saturday. We've had people come in before 6 a.m. We've had people come in at 3 p.m. So even though we only get about 30 people on that one every year, they are so spread out throughout the day.
Yeah.
It's
And
pretty
it's
much a
just,
solo ride.
yeah, it's just how it's going for you. Because there's,
Mhm.
man, on that one, I think the 150 has right around 10,000 feet of climbing on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of those are pretty sharp climbs. They're not like smooth rollers all day long. It's
Right.
Wabunsa County. So,
Yeah, it's funny because when I was looking at the website, I was checking to see if the routes were loaded. This was probably a month or so ago, and on the website it says, "Wow, only 70 miles." Like, and it's like, "Have you ridden out here?" It's like, that's exactly right. The roads are. It's like you can have this nice smooth, hero gravel road. You take a quick turn, you're like, "Oh, we're in Wabanese County."
Yeah.
And it's like, and I love it. Actually, one of my favorite things is following the sheriff's Facebook page because they show the cars that get stuck on some of those roads out there.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't think people respect how challenging that terrain is.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, a lot of these roads, if you've ridden the Flint Hills, you've probably ridden a lot of these roads, but yeah, there's nothing easy about any of them. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and to give you like the listeners like a idea, like 10K worth of climbing over 150 miles. All of the Unbound course had 10K,
Right.
So of over 200 miles.
Right.
So you get an extra, you get the climbing all done in 50 less miles.
right. We're all about efficiency up here.
Yeah.
So.
The more we talk about this, I'm thinking that 20 miles sounds really good right now.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a friend the other day, and he asked me, be honest with me, how much climbing is in the 20 miler? Because he was trying to convince some local friends to go do the fun 20, and I was like, oh yeah, let me go look. Oh, I'm sorry, there's 1,600 feet of climbing in the 20 miler.
It's so funny because like that's almost like riding in Colorado. 20
Yeah.
miles, getting 2K of climbing.
Yeah.
It's just like I don't think people realize like how punchy it is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, in Colorado, you're just going up the mountain. Here, you're going up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. It's no flat roads in Kansas. Well, at least that part of Kansas.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
very much so.
Well, so the 150 mile that starts on Friday night, right?
That's
What we said, and
Friday
then
night. Yeah, so check-in Friday. So check-in Friday starts at 5 p.m. And it ends at 8 p.m. We have a pasta dinner that benefits the 4-H council there in town, and we invite the local community out to that also to kind of help mingle a little bit and raise them more money. And then that leads into 9 p.m. when we do the rollout for the dark side. The dark side is the 150 miler. We've never had more than 35, I think, sign up for that. This year we have right around 30. Because it's a huge challenge, and riding through the night's a scary deal for a lot of people. The whole reason I came up with the 150 miler through the night was because I have failed at 2 attempts to do like the journey. Is it the journey?
Yeah.
No, it's not the journey. What is it up there at Gravel Worlds? I can't remember now. But anyway, their 150 miler that they had, or the 350 miler that they had, I couldn't make it through the night. I like to sleep.
Yeah.
So for those of us whose goals is to see daylight and be near the finish line at daylight and not have to do an entire another day of riding after you've gone through the night, that's why I came up with the 150, where the goal is daylight. And if you can make it to daylight, you're probably within a couple hours of the finish line. if not
Yeah.
already. So that's the whole premise behind that. And like I said, we get about 30 every year who sign up to do that. That is also the only distance where you're allowed a sag bag, which is
Okay.
right about halfway. So you can pack your own goodies for the halfway point.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Saturday morning, I think you said check-in opens up Saturday morning at 6:15. Is that right? That sound
So
about
it
right?
opens at 6:30, but we'll be
Oh,
there. I mean,
6:30. All
I
right.
don't get much sleep. We all stay. There's a handful of us
Yeah.
that are at the fairgrounds all night long to support the Darksiders.
Sure.
So we're there, but yeah, 6:30 is official start. Packet pickup, check-in, registration if you need to wait that morning. That goes until 8. And then 8 o'clock is when the rides start, and every 10 minutes another distance goes until everyone's out.
Awesome.
We have 75, 37, 20, and then this year we turned the 5K into a 5K walk, run, or ride. That way we can get some of the kids out on bikes too that maybe just have a BMX bike and that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
but even the 3 miler, even the 5K has one huge hill that you got to
Yeah.
go up after you've gone down it. So they'll be probably walking. Some of them will be walking that hill just due to lack of gearing to get up that hill on a
Right.
BMX.
Yeah.
So
Right. Everybody gets a little bit of suffer.
Yeah.
everybody gets a hill.
Everybody gets.
Yep.
Yeah. Everybody
You
gets
don't
a
leave
hill.
Wabunsee
You get
County
a hill.
without a hill.
You get a hill. Don't get to leave that race without doing a hill.
That's right.
So how many runners and walkers? How many people are signed up for that? I'm curious. I haven't
I
looked at
think
that
this
part
year,
of it.
so we did it. The way we set it up is it's sponsored by Crosswinds,
Yep.
Family Mental Wellness there in town. Actually, it's regional, based out of Emporia. And the lead out is actually the Wabunsee County Sheriff's Department for that, which I'm
Nice.
stoked to have them leading people out. They are
Yeah.
so loved by their community up there. So they're the lead out. We have about 30 sign up this year. 18 and under is free, and then parents are $15, maybe $20
Okay.
for parents. Last year we had one. I didn't market it or promote it very well last year, so we had one.
Yeah.
And she came riding her e-bike in, and she's like, "Well, that was fun, but it'd be nice to have other people." So yes, it would have been. So we have 30 this year. It's done better, and
good.
about
Yeah, that's
half
great.
about half of that 30 are local area. So I'm really excited about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is super awesome.
I think that's great too. Like just having, this event draws people from, the area, and then also have stuff that's like, hey, if you can also locally, like you can do some stuff in this event too.
Mhm.
Like it's not just like, oh, we're showing up to your town, a bunch of, bearded, gravelly goobers are just showing up and then, racing in your town and then leaving. It's like,
Right.
Yeah.
like it gives them the community, giving back to the community, which is good too.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
Yeah, I mean that's one of our main focal points, and it took me a little bit, an extra year or so up there, just because I didn't have as many local contacts. But this year we have the local 4-H council is doing the pasta feed. We have, I already mentioned, Crosswoods is involved. Wabunsee County Sheriff's involved. We have the 4-H kids, not the council, but the kids are doing all the finish line activities for me that morning. And then it's all there done locally at the fairgrounds. So we're excited about a lot more local representation. There's a brand new hotel there in town, the Brant Hotel, that just opened this year. It's a historic building downtown. They're a sponsor this year. I think we have all their rooms filled up, but if not, check, because you definitely want to stay there.
Nice.
yeah.
We have the Alma Sweet Shop and Bakery, which is Jeanette. She is helping out this year with cinnamon rolls. I ordered 50. 50. No, don't do that
Just
yet.
for
Don't
for me, just for
don't
me,
do that
right?
yet. There are 50 cinnamon rolls. They come out on the table after everybody has left. So those 35Kers and the first 20 milers, you're racing for a cinnamon roll.
Yeah.
Because when they're gone, they're gone. No, yeah, we have cinnamon rolls for that early crowd. Is how I plan that.
That's
Because
awesome.
the later
that's
crowd,
good.
we have a local barbecue guy who's bringing in barbecue for the 10:30, 11 a.m. plus crowd. We
Yeah.
have lunch that we're providing for them.
Good.
Well, I saw the picture of the cinnamon roll, Bobby, and I'm just sitting there with, oh, I hope there's one left over. I mean, I know there won't be, but I'm like, oh my gosh, that looks so
Well,
good. So
I'm sure Jeanette has more downtown if you want to go buy
I
one.
know. I'm sure I can swing by the sweet shop.
Yeah,
and
we
pick a
should
couple up.
definitely stop by
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
afterwards. Yeah.
I'll have earned it by the end of this route.
Yeah.
So
So I bought 3 of those, and I feel very guilty. And this happens occasionally as a parent. I bought 3, meaning to bring 2 home to the girls, and I gotta say I ate all 3 on the hour drive home.
They didn't make
they
it.
didn't quite make
Yeah,
didn't
that's
quite make
happened.
it
I
to
mean,
the
I think
house,
that's a typical parent story. It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, they're like, oh, do you want dinner? You're like, no, I'm kind of full. They're
you
like,
know,
well, what did you have? Nothing. Salad.
it. Salad. Right. Yeah. A lot of vegetables.
Yeah.
All right. So the race itself. So we're going to focus, I think, on the light side, right? The 70-mile course. And so I was looking at the map and I'm like, hey, some of these roads look really familiar.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be out there, be like orbs floating on the side of the road, like fragments of souls, from years gone by. It's like, I see Volland is there. I see Little Egypt is there. I'm just like, oh my goodness, this is going to be a fight all day, isn't it?
Yeah. And I looked and I was like, oh, Bobby was so nice to put all those at the end of the ride.
Right.
So the fun thing for me about having this event all contained within Wabunsee County, as opposed to like Unbound that goes through the county in a 200-mile big huge loop, is they got to get through the county because they got a lot more to get you back home. I don't have to. I can keep you all right there, and I can make this thing weave however I want to give you the best representation of Wabunsee County gravel that I can give you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I noticed there's a little there's a section, because I was like, oh, I wonder how many of these roads are from the Unbound course. And because you're right. I mean, there's several of those roads that they use to get through. And I look and I'm like, well, there's this one spot on the southwest side of the course. And in Unbound, we just make the straight cut across. I think it's old K18.
Yeah.
But in Bobby's course, we get to take this little dip down, just a little dip down. And I'm like, oh, there must be a lot of fun in that little section.
Yeah, there must be a little. Yeah.
So I think it's probably like another couple hundred feet of climbing in that little section.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but no, it's really exciting. And then I noticed, to your point, it's all those climbs are at the end of the route. So Volland is towards the back half of the route.
Yeah.
And then we go Little
So that
Egypt
is,
backwards. Yeah.
That is a side effect of, on the west side of the county, wanting to take you guys up to Shamrock Cafe, which the Shamrock Cafe, if you've never been up there, is a beautiful viewpoint over the Flint Hills. The cafe is actually 2 chairs, a metal table, and a sign, and that's it over the viewpoint. So it's a BYO picnic at the Shamrock Cafe, but we have our aid station there, and I wanted to showcase the Shamrock Cafe because the owners of that land right there are actually very supportive of everything in the community, including cyclists. They've been posting like crazy on their website. So I wanted to go through that way. And once you go north up there, to the left of that, northwest, is Pillsbury Crossing.
Yeah.
Which is just outside Manhattan. Problem is, once you commit to those 2 locations, there's only one road that goes all the way back around. So when you say all the climbing on the south end, that is because the first 25 miles is going around this. It's beautiful. It's worth the ride.
Yeah.
You just don't get it. There is one huge hill.
Sure.
There's one huge hill right in the middle of that you climb up, and it takes a long time to climb up it. But as long as you don't have a south wind, it's not a bad. I think you do. It's not a bad hill to climb up. But it goes around the top. Bummer is a friend of mine just sent me a picture of Pillsbury Crossing, and we probably are looking at, once again, having to dip just underneath Pillsbury Crossing. It is rushing with water right now.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's not a big change, but it is a change. And you dip south 100, the next road south instead. It's an easy change to make. But unfortunately, you probably will have to avoid Pillsbury Crossing again this year. So
yeah, it's too bad. But it's just the way it is. That's sorry, my history, I got to brush up on it. But Pillsbury Crossing was Oregon Trail. Was it Oregon Trail or was it Santa Fe Trail?
It's either Oregon or Santa Fe, and I'd have to go look too. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is that original trail. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's a concrete crossing right now. So it's kind of fun because it is concrete, but it does get a little slimy and mossy on the bottom sometimes, and so
Yeah.
it does present an opportunity to take a bath every once in a while.
Yep.
Well, in the kind of heat, I mean, that's never
It
a
could
bad
be
thing.
welcomed, yeah.
But
Yeah.
but
not when
yeah,
the
so,
water's rushing. Yeah. So,
No,
no,
no.
exactly. So
Yeah.
all right, so with maybe a small change there, we'll keep posted if there's any route changes. But yeah, I mean, it's the course, it on paper just like oh, that first 25 miles or so doesn't look too bad, and I like all the qualifiers Bobby throws in there. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is all the stuff you don't see in the profile.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah.
And then but like I mentioned, we kind of swing back down to the south, and anybody that's done, like I said, enough riding in the area, Volwind is a fun climb. It really is. And like I said, you take us through Little Egypt backwards from what I'm used to, and I was like, oh, that's gonna be fun. And I'm like, wait, it's just as much climbing going the other way as it is coming
Yeah.
out. Wait a minute.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Hey, you don't
And
miss out
the
on it.
last hill on the east edge, so the last eastern climb out of there is, depending on how it is that day, that's the one that's usually the most loose rock.
Mm,
Historically, it used to be the one that would have like diagonal washouts all the way through it, but they've actually
mm,
been keeping Little Egypt up a lot better recently. So I don't think you'll
Yeah.
have that, but it will be a punchy climb getting out of Little Egypt.
yeah, yeah. So, well, like I said, fragments of our souls are out there, so
Yep.
we'll be looking to collect that.
Yeah, we'll be
so.
looking to collect on those. So
I was looking at the just today. I was looking at because of the weather. I was looking at how the aid stations are set up and everything. And in December, having the last full on aid station at mile 48 made sense. But now it looks pretty painful for you guys. So that should
Yeah.
be fun because now
Well,
once you leave that last full service aid station, you immediately go into the climb of Little Egypt. Then you do Little Egypt, and then you have a fair amount of climbing left after that. So I want you all to have fun.
yeah.
But I did put a remote water station out there about halfway, so we'll have extra
yeah,
water.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I was trying to plan out water stops and all of that, and I'm like, oh, I wonder. So there's the one right before 40. It's 32. I want to say, or 30,
yeah,
32 or 35. Yeah,
my
and I
daughter
was like, oh,
will actually be running
yeah,
that one.
oh, nice.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, we could stop there, and then I'm like, maybe that could be the only water stop, and then I'm like, no, probably not.
No, not in this heat, man. You're gonna be drinking
Yeah.
all the water.
Yeah, right.
I'll send out a
So,
reminder email to everybody, but I strongly encourage you to leave the third aid station full up. So
Yeah.
and
yeah,
the good thing about that, Volin, they have a water source there, so I don't even
yep,
have to have remote water. I mean, worry about running out of water. They have remote
right.
water there because it is a venue
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
for that association there, and so we'll have plenty of water. I cannot and will not promise ice, but I promise plenty of water on the course.
Yeah,
So and
yeah.
plenty of
Ice is
ice
just
at
a
the finish
bonus.
line.
Yeah,
So
there you
Yeah.
go.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, everybody stay hydrated. That's the thing. I mean, for those of us that did Solstice, and we're gonna have our recap in here as well. But those of us that did Solstice, like, get your hydration plan and make sure it's ready to go.
Yeah.
'Cause, yeah, you definitely don't want to run out of water. So
no.
cool.
And
Well,
the
cool.
good thing about it, and you guys know this too, is the first half of your ride dictates the last half of your ride, how
Yes, it
you treat
does.
yourself and how you hydrate. And with 3 aid stations before mile 50, I mean, if you're smart, you should be pretty well pre-hydrated by the time you're in for that little last 20, 26 miles. So
Right.
Yep.
Right. So very
Good.
good.
Yeah.
Anything else on the race, or we want to get into the point standings and all the good stuff there?
Yeah.
I'll say one last thing on the race is we're up
Yeah.
over 50 riders from previous year.
Oh, that is
That's great.
awesome.
Years 2 and 3, we kind of stalled around. We still always had growth, but it wasn't great growth. It was like 215 and then 220. And this year we're at 260. So
Nice.
maybe, climbing on up. And most of them are doing the light side, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Maybe not. This last few days, they may be doing 20. But up until
They
this
drop
point,
down.
most of them have been doing the light side.
Oh,
Well,
that's awesome.
That's great. That's great. So,
Love to see more people out there. I mean, that's one thing about every race in this series. There, I would say there have been more people than I expected. I expected a lot of people, but every race has been more people than I expected. It's been a
Yep.
lot of fun to just be there at the start line and know that there are going to be groups to work with and things like that. It's just we talked about it endlessly, so I don't want to repeat it, but it's just so awesome to see. So
Yep.
great.
Yeah. So
All
good.
right.
Yeah.
Now we can talk about the series.
Yeah.
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 So the series, where do we want to start out, Travis? How do you want to start with the points?
Well, I think the big shakeup is in the women's race,
Oh, isn't that crazy?
in the overall women's.
Yeah.
So after Solstice this weekend, there was a leader change.
Mm.
And yeah, so now Courtney, who's a friend of the channel, and Hannah have swapped places.
The pressure of the yellow jersey
Yeah.
goes to another soul.
Goes to another person. So yeah.
You know, we've really had a pretty good, friendly, but hard-earned competition the whole season.
I think so,
Well,
yes. And that,
Yeah,
I
with
think
the
I think
with
that's
both of the
what's
girls.
been with
Yeah.
I think with even so the overall men, I'm not in those groups. So we talked to Jackson, he's a friend of the podcast, and so we usually get his updates from all that stuff.
Mhm.
And but yeah, he's been saying that, those guys have been, charging hard, and but yeah, from the women's race to the masters race to some of the
Even the
U23
single
people
speeders, they all
and the
know each
singer
other.
speeders. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And they're all
But
marking
yeah,
each other. So
it's been a
Some of them
fun
are
year,
marking
and
other
so
people too.
yeah.
I think that was my hope in all this. And before we can get into the numbers and all this, I'll be glad to with the women here in just a second. But the overall fear I think I had in doing something like this series was to create an amount or a level of stress that didn't pre-exist and ruin what I think what we already had, which was a lot of friendly competition and gravel
Mhm.
riding. And that was at any level. You always have friendly competition. There's always someone who I'm friends with, who I ride next to, just like you two do. But you
Yeah.
don't
Yep.
mind beating them on race day, right? And so
Absolutely.
Right.
you don't want something to come in all of a sudden and make it where it's not friendly anymore.
Right.
So that was a
Right.
big fear that I actually had, and why it took me 2 years to even ask these other directors, "Do you guys want to do this or not?" Because I didn't want to be that guy who did that,
Right.
to be honest with you. And so it's been nice to watch. We've had a few bumps just because of me fleshing out rules, and everybody's been really friendly and giving me the courtesy of figuring things out this first year. So I really super appreciate that. But yeah, it shows right now, like you guys were saying, in the overall women competition, where Courtney, Hannah, Trisha, Haley, and Paulina all year long, and right there, boom, boom, boom.
Mhm.
And this last race, Courtney finally did pop up on the top step in total points. Now, I will say, if you look at subtracting the worst race, they're actually tied right
Yep.
now.
Isn't that
Yeah.
crazy?
So
Yeah. That's wild,
competition
right?
level, it's just right there,
Love
Yep.
it.
all the
Love it.
way through with
Yeah.
2 races to go. Hannah, bless her heart, she rode her heart out at XL, and I think she came away with some long-lasting, at least pain, if not injury, from
Yeah.
that. So that certainly is
Yeah.
on the mind there. Trisha, this last event, what you don't see in the numbers is that she showed up 10 minutes late
Yeah.
That's
to
right.
the race and took off 10 minutes behind everybody. So it's been interesting to watch. Certainly, the next two events are going to be a lot of fun because they were completely different races. I mean, mine, Rock Ridge, is pretty technical. It's going to be
Yep.
hot, and it's shorter, 75, which I know it's not short, but it's shorter. And
Mhm.
then their next one is Pony Express, which is smoother, rolling hills, but 120 miles, in September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely different skill sets, and that's going to go a long way in finishing this up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think to your point about the friendly competition, I mean, at least what I've seen with the people we experienced on race day, like obviously the friendship is still there, but the beauty of sport and competition is you're always friends outside of the event. But
Yep.
when game day is here, it's like, yeah, you're not my friend much anymore. Now they race. Now they do
They race
riding.
hard. Yeah.
They race hard and they ride together and actually, in at Solstice we saw the female lead group come through, and it was like, oh, I wonder we all knew where the attack was going to happen.
Yeah, we all knew. Yeah, we saw him go, and
But
we were just, and I like the fact that like, we were just kind of letting them do their race. Like
yeah,
this is, their race to suss out between them, and that
Yeah.
it's good. And the same thing with the masters group.
yeah.
We have
Well,
we have a lot of those guys just marking each other and
Yeah, you
man, the
do.
race within the race.
yeah,
And
and that's the thing. Like that's exactly it. If there's one thing that I think, and Bobby, we've talked about this on the podcast, but I'll say it with you here. One of the huge positives I'm seeing is the dynamics of the race. As Travis said, the race within the race. It creates so much more intensity, and in a good way, because groups have a lot more motivation and different motivations to work together. Where if you're just doing Rock Ridge as a standalone race, once you get past the leader group, groups are there, but there's really not a good cohesion and motivation. And yeah, you're going to ride at a pace to kind of see each other through it, but there is definitely still the air of competition and this uncertainty of what's about to happen. And it's just so much fun. The dynamic is so fun. Now, if you want to, drop back and ride in a very casual group, those still are out there, but it's letting the race happen 2 and 3 groups deeper than it would have otherwise. And it's been so
Right.
much fun to watch.
yeah,
So,
And
the other thing
I will say that's always been there too, in different ways.
right.
yes,
Meaning, I can tell you almost every 200, at least every Unbound 200 that I've done, at some point in time, you've leapfrogged enough with some individual or individuals that you mark them.
Yes.
Yep.
They become stuck in your head. And then you may
Yes.
go back to riding casual for a while, but all of a sudden after some hill, you see, wait a minute, that's that jersey. I I'm getting that jersey. And so
Yeah.
that competition has always been there, but now I think you're starting to learn the names of people more and you're starting to become friends after the race with them more. And
Yes.
so that during the race, now you're not looking for that jersey, you're looking for Bart or you're looking for Steven.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah, there's a definitely a more human element to it, and it's been fun. We had a great time talking after Solstice. We sat for maybe another couple hours and just chatted with people about the race experience and all that stuff. So it's been so much fun. Like I said, this has been a huge positive, and maybe when it all wraps up, we'll talk about what's ahead. I can't wait to have that episode because it's gonna be fun. As you mentioned, you probably learned a lot through this whole process, and I don't know, man. It's gone pretty well for year one, so I don't know. We'll see. I don't
yeah,
know how you can have a hard time making it better, but I'm sure you'll find a way.
right.
So,
So good.
anything else on the points though? Because I mean, the female is still up for grabs. We pointed out the men's is
women's
settling a little bit.
overall,
Yep.
the women's
Yeah. Go
men
ahead.
is or the overall women's, yeah, we pointed it out and it'll be fun to watch develop. The overall men, if you look at once you take away the worst ride,
Hmm.
it's a heck of a competition. It really is. It's not as open close as you think when you look at the cut points. Michael's got a strong lead there, and I don't think I'd have to go check. So Michael, I apologize if you watch this, but I don't think Michael's won a specific race this year, but he's been at second place at almost like all of them.
Consistent.
So
Consistency.
consistency
Yeah.
has definitely paid off for him. But then after that, I had a talk. I actually went and grabbed my laptop afterwards and just sat in the group with these guys because these guys are all Michael's the oldest at 32. Then you got
Yep.
19, 19, 26,
Yep.
22. So
Yep.
I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go sit with these kids. I'm going to call them kids because I'm 51. I'm going to go sit with these kids and get to know them a little better. And it was a lot of fun. And there's a lot of communication, a lot of friendly competition within the group there. And when you start looking at the numbers, let me look over here. You have Jacob, Anderson, Josh Hicks, Jackson, Sam, and Owen that are all still right there within 7 points of each other.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you subtract their worst race. So it's by no means is it over at all.
That's
Now,
right.
for the overall cup, I know like Anderson's super stoked to be there in third place, but he also realizes that if you take away the worst race, he's in fifth. So
Mhm.
these guys are all still competing hard and riding hard and having fun with it and attacking each other out there and then laughing about it afterwards. And
Yep.
uh, it was pretty fun to
It
see that they were all smiling and joking after the ride when you know that it's
Yeah.
hot and heavy at the front of these things.
Oh, it's
And then
absolutely terror at the
I got to
front.
say, when you look at the overall men right there in the top 10 is Bart. I love Bart.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bart,
Yeah.
55. Go for it, Bart. Get up there. I mean, he is
Yeah.
blowing away the Masters, but he is right there, 8th place overall in the overall man competition, and love Bart and Lori. So
Yeah. Very good. And then maybe we jump over to single speed.
Yeah.
let's go to single speed. That one's
Yeah. And then
sneaky
we get,
too.
isn't
That
it?
one's sneaky because you look at the women, and there are 3 out of we have 5 throughout the season that have recorded points, and 3 of them are pretty competitive with each other. Megan didn't even know she wanted to do single speed cup competition until she rode at open range, and then she was like, "Oh wait, what's this? Let's do this." And
Yeah.
she's 3rd overall in points, but if you go to take away the worst ride, she's 2nd. And she's
Second
only
place.
2 points behind Sasha if you take away the worst. So Taylor's in the
Yep.
lead right now in cup points, but she's done 4 events and the other 2 have only done 3. So Sasha and Megan and Taylor are all right there racing against each other. And if you know Taylor's awesome, and she's going to finish anything she does.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's been doing single speed forever. It might be the only thing she's ever ridden. She's Trisha's younger sister, so it's love watching her also. But Sasha exploded on single speed last year and absolutely loves it. And then, like I say,
Yeah.
Megan's riding hard this year, so it's fun watching that develop as well.
I still
Men-
can't get my head around the single speed. I just can't. I mean, just because I know how hard these courses are with gears.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And they're like, you know what? I'm going to just take the gears out of it and just ride one gear the whole time.
So impressive.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to the men's, because we know a few people in this group too.
Oh, yeah. Well, Gabe is local, so I know Gabe really well.
Yep.
And Gabe has 3 single speed bikes and nothing with gears. He owns nothing with gears. We keep telling him every week, go buy a geared bike. He owns nothing with gears. So he lives and breathes single speed. He's in first place right there. And to be honest, he's got a strong lead regardless of whether you take a worst case one or not. And then behind him, you have next 3 up would be Todd, and Andy and Mark are all there within
right there
10, 15 points of each other, depending on either way you look at it. So, so definitely the top 4 are great competition there. And then you have a few after that. You got JR, who's local there, and Rob Evans. Everybody loves Rob. Jason Haggerty's from the Kansas City area. Ben's moved away to West Virginia, or he would honestly probably be running away with this thing. He's so strong.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's been great to watch those guys too. And then you have a lot of people there who showed up for a race, rode it, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm done. Let me go ride something else." So,
totally understandable on that.
Right. Exactly.
But all right, Masters.
Masters is a lot of competition, definitely in the men. The women's, let's face it, Courtney's running away with it pretty good.
Yeah.
She's leading the overall, so of course she's going to be leading the Masters. But Catherine has been coming to my events since I started Flint Hills Gravel, and she is a heck of a strong rider, and there she is in second place, regardless of how you look at it. Same. I know Kelly, I don't know if it was a sprint finish, but I can tell you from the finishing times, they were within a couple of seconds of each other, Catherine and Kelly. So I wanted to get hold of it, reach out to Catherine to see if they sprinted there at the end of Solstice, because their finishing time was just a few seconds off of each other. So they rode across with each other, hands held high, where they raced with each other across the line. But either way, they're very aware of where they're at, and that's kind of cool too. Renee, unfortunately, she's there in 4th. She crashed 6 or 7 miles from the finish line.
Oh no.
That day. It was what was it? Was it a cat, or it was some animal got in for a squirrel, something. Unfortunately, sent her over the bars. She is sore, a little stiff, but okay, relatively. Talked to Mark the other day. So, but that's why she's only got the 3 events here instead of 4. So
hopefully she can bounce back for this upcoming weekend. So
yeah, exactly. So, and then Masters, I know for sure that Bart and Steven and Doug and Gary, they are all very aware of where they're at. Jeff, I don't know as well.
They are. Oh my God, they're by far the most competitive out there. They
know
are.
where each other is out on the course. They know what groups they're in on the course. Absolutely.
You should see them coming around asking, hey, you guys want to work today? You guys, how you feeling? They're like,
I think there's money to be made off this. If we just partner up with the right person, we can probably make a few bucks pulling them around.
Yeah, pulling them around.
Let's be honest though, they're going to pull us around. These guys are fast.
Some of these guys are just crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun to watch
So
that. It has been fun to watch that develop too.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I know, Roger, Roger would be right up there, but the heat just gets to Roger so bad. So he usually rides that
Sure.
second tier race. He's a heck of a rider though, and I know he didn't ride
Yeah.
last weekend because of the heat. And
Yeah.
then locally, I'm super stoked that we have Joe Russell and Frank Walecki up there in the top 10. They talk about it every week. Their goal is to hang out in the top 10 and make that's their goal for the year. So I think that's cool and fun
Yeah.
for them. So yeah, you don't have to be competing for the top podium to be having fun with this. So.
No, exactly.
absolutely
Like I'm in the overall standings, and I'm hoping to, if I can, maybe get to just be in the top 20, just hang around there.
Sure.
If I'm in there, I'm doing great. So
Yeah.
So I'm super stoked to be where I am right now, and trailing a little bit behind is Danny, and we'll see if he can work something to pass me up.
Need to form some alliances in the upcoming
Yeah,
race.
in the race. So,
But yeah, the Masters men, it's been awesome to see, and you want to watch some savvy racing, just hang out with some of those guys.
Yep.
And it's funny because we watched the elite group just take off out of Solstice, and
yeah,
about I don't know 40 miles into that, you saw a couple of them getting shelled out. And it's like, yeah, freaking heat got to
yeah,
you.
it's a little hot up
But
there.
what do you do? I mean, these
Yeah.
guys are so fast. So
Yeah.
all right, you want to move into the U23?
Let's do it. And I want to say with a very big grin on my face that the U23 women is a perfect example of the way the series is set up. You don't have to enter the series to be in the series.
Right?
You
Yeah.
compete
Right.
in the ride and the data gets transferred over. Now I am going to reach out to these two young women because I guarantee you they do not know that there is a series going on. I don't know why it says that Italy has been to 4 events. Italy has been to 1 event. She's been
Okay.
to Open Range, and then Olive rode with her dad last weekend. And for first of all, Italy had a great time at Open Range. She did wonderful. Olive at 13 years old to fight off 110, 150 degree heat and 30 to 40 mile per hour winds all day with her dad.
That's
and
awesome.
do the 66-mile ride. I mean,
That's
really
just
freaking
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah.
And her dad
That's
was the
great.
one that was, from what I've heard, the one who was dressed up in the Fred Flintstone costume.
Eh,
Did you see the Fred Flintstone kid out there?
I did not. No.
I saw him at the start line. I was like, dude, that dude's going to have fun today.
That is
Yeah.
awesome.
Riding a big old fat bike. But she finished the ride and she's 13, so that puts her into the category. And I guarantee you they do not know, but in the tiebreaker, she is on top podium. So I'm going to reach out to both of them and say, you know what? I don't expect you guys to come to the last 2 events, but I wanted you both to know where you're at and what this thing is. And you're awesome for being out there riding your bike. So
absolutely,
that's great.
Kind of the way it is.
You know what I hope? I hope they both show up and it turns into a little head-to-head. That would be great. Because like that competitive spirit will show up in them. And
Yeah,
like, you know what?
exactly.
Let's just go see what happens.
Let's just see what happens in Nebraska.
Oh, that's so good.
The men category is extremely competitive because you're also looking at your overall men competition right here. I mean, this is a direct result of, I said Michael was the oldest one at 32 and all the rest of them are right below him here in this 23 age group. So the competition up there is just dragging a couple more in here. Like our local Alex Seflik is right there in 3rd place. If you look at pure points, minus the worst one, he drops a few spots, but they're all right there in the top 5 together. Eli didn't. Oh, actually, I know him enough now that I heard him say last race he got sick, and that's why he was there, but he was ill. So he came to watch, but he didn't race. So, or he'd be right up there in points also. But so it's gonna be fun to see how this shakes out.
Yeah, for sure.
I know Jacob is super stoked to be on top right now, and I met his dad very briefly, and told him he had a great son there. So I've gotten to know Jacob a little bit, and so that's kind of been the fun part for me is getting to know a whole group of riders that I didn't know going into the season, and as it goes on, I know them more and more. So
well, and you know what I also like to see in this is you look down past the top 6 or so, you've got a lot of riders that have done at least a few events. and hopefully they'll see this and they'll start marking this on their calendar for next year, and you'll start to see them, show up to maybe more events and grow this category a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it'd be great
Like
to
I know
see.
Tommy and his mom come to quite a few events in the area. They usually are at Rock Ridge, and I think sometimes they come to Pony. So I think that they could be at the
Okay.
next two. That said, Calvin is a Kansas NICA kid, but I don't know him that well. Jack, I do
Mhm.
know, but the thing with a lot of these 19-year-olds is they just went to college. So they're
Right.
trying to
Right.
figure out the first year of their life too this year, and they've moved
That's
away
right.
here and there, but they're back for the summer riding. Same with Evan. Evan will be doing the 150. Conrad is obviously the chase of the son of one of the race directors, Jason, up there. They get involved in every kind of racing there is. So all of these kids have very busy lives, very busy
Yes, they do.
schedules, and then they get pulled because of other family members' schedules too. So it'll be nice to see a couple of them back here in the next two events. And like you say, going forward, the hope of this series is that once they get out of high school, they still have something to race for. So
Exactly.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be so much fun to watch this division grow, and I mean, just to that, I mean, you look down the row, and it looks like the average age of the bottom 20 of this is still like 17, 18. So it's
Yeah.
like
Got a
it
couple
is.
more years in the U23.
Yeah,
So we get to know these kids for a little bit
it's going to be
longer,
fun.
which will be good. Yeah.
So
yeah,
very good.
that
So,
9-year-old really stands out, doesn't he?
Yeah, it
yeah.
does.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I just think about that. It's like at 9 years old, going out there and doing some of these events like this.
Right.
Never would have thought.
Yeah,
You know.
no.
So love it. Love seeing it. So
Yeah,
all
so
right.
I mean, that's going through the points overall. It's been a lot of fun, and the stuff you don't see here, and let's not forget, is all the people who are riding and gotten any kind of points at all.
Right.
There's just as much enthusiasm that you two are having with each other as there are with the people who are down there playing around at the 200th mark or the 205th mark,
Absolutely.
in the overall.
Yeah, no.
And
And I think that's what
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's what's great about this whole series is that like you just get points
Yeah.
for signing up, showing up, and finishing.
That's right.
So it's like you can still get points to do stuff, which
Yeah.
is awesome. It's not like, oh, that's only points for the first, 100 people that cross the
Right.
line. It's not like it doesn't exclude people for being, just riding their ride. It just
Yeah.
it just enhances all of that stuff. So that's again, I think that's what's really great about this series is that you don't have to be the fastest, and you can just still get points and you can still do stuff. So
Well, and then there's I need to do the numbers to see how many I need to order. But then there's the other challenge of completing all 6 events.
Right.
Yeah.
Which you get the patch for that. And
That's right.
I will tell you, there are quite a few people who that is very important to them. Do I got to do, since only 5 races count, do I have to do 5 or do I have to do 6? Do I have to do all 6? Because you can have a 1 drop.
Right.
And I will say, as of right now, you just got to do 5, but you got to finish. You got to complete 5 of the designated distances, to get.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but that's a challenge for some people because looking at the data before we even did this series, I don't believe anybody had come to more than 4 of these 6 events. So just that alone means we got more people out and seeing more sites that they've never seen before. So
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's as we've said, it's been a lot of fun to watch. It's hard to believe we're already coming up on race number 5, and this thing's gonna be wrapping up. And I know we got a little break after Rock Ridge, but as you can see from the points, like Pony Express is gonna be an absolute knockdown, drag out fight for podiums and for final placement. So
yeah,
very good.
For those, I keep stressing, and I'll stress for those who are seriously competing for those top spots. Keep an eye on the worst column, the column where you take out the one worst race. I do know that everyone I've talked to is well aware. They know. They're watching it. But you just hate to see someone caught off guard by that at the end of the year.
Right.
So.
Yep. So very good. Anything else, Bobby?
Come see us at Rock Ridge. If you don't want to ride, come cheer.
Hey, at least come
cheer.
And maybe get a couple of cinnamon rolls and take them back home for you.
Absolutely. Grab a bag of ice and take it out to the riders.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Come out and support. Yeah, we love seeing volunteers. We saw a couple of farmers out at Solstice.
Yeah.
They were super stoked to see us riding through. So we do appreciate every volunteer. We appreciate all the fans that listen to this, and all the people that come up and talk to us about it. And we just really appreciate the hype that's coming around this series and these races. They're really good races. Again, thank you, Bobby, for putting on really great races. And we're looking forward to this one. And I'm super stoked.
You got it.
Yeah. Good.
Well,
We're good.
We'll see you guys in 2 days, 3 days. Are you driving down the morning of?
I think so.
We're gonna do
Yep.
morning of.
Morning of. Yeah.
Okay.
So bright and
We
early
will
for
see
us.
you that morning then.
Yeah,
got
we'll
it.
see you. And everybody have a great rest of your week, and
Have a good
drink
race.
lots of water
That's right.
because you're gonna need it.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Please, if you like what we are doing here, leave a like, rate us, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. It really helps us grow and finds us more SufferSooner squad mates. And remember, when the finish line feels impossibly far away, we don't give up, we push harder, we dig deeper, and we find solace in the knowledge that our suffering is temporary and our resilience is forever.